Hey, what's up, guys? 3 Born Illuminati, and today I'm counting down my top 10 SpongeBob episodes. It's a bit unusual for me, but I'm going to be doing it while playing Boo or Boom, a SpongeBob game that's a personal favorite of mine. Now, this list is going to be my personal list. Take it with a grain of salt. Alright, number 10, Enchanted Tiki Dreams. I'm going to try and go quick on this one. I'm going to try and go quick on the bottom three. Enchanted Tiki Dreams is an episode that has Squidward finally get some happiness for once in a SpongeBob episode. He never has once gotten happiness. Well, never once, but he rarely gets happiness, and nowadays we're just happy to see him get it. Enchanted Tiki Dreams, which happens to be a episode that was not in seasons 1 through 4, which is when SpongeBob was at its climax, and most people consider to die after that. It was, I believe, a season 6 episode. Enchanted Tiki Dreams has a memorable song called, I'm not sure if that's exactly what's called, but I call it Welcome to Squidward's Tiki Land. Because that is what the Tikis who sing it say most of the time. Welcome to Squidward's Tiki Land. Overall, it's a good song, a memorable show, and a memorable episode for a memorable show. This episode also has a bit funny ending, where Patrick stumbles and accidentally ruins Squidward's Tiki Land. Overall, I think they ended it perfectly with a classical SpongeBob way, and, well, on to number 9. Number 9 is a personal classic, and most people know of it. No Weenies Allowed. An episode that starts off with SpongeBob and Sandy sparring, and SpongeBob getting launched at the Salty Spittoon. Salty Spittoon being a club for tough guys. SpongeBob then tries many humorous ways to get in, such as wearing a wig, and actually legitimately trying. He also becomes a tattoo, which I think is a personal highlight. But the most memorable parts are when SpongeBob is pretending to fight Patrick. Him and Patrick are fighting, and Patrick says, "Oh yeah, I forgot it was a fight, and that you're supposed to be winning." And SpongeBob says, "You're going down, Tubby." Patrick gets really mad and beats him up, basically. But that's not the best part of the episode. SpongeBob then gets in by not lifting a finger and beating up Patrick. SpongeBob then proceeds to go into the Salty Spittoon, slip on an ice cube, and get severely injured, which is perfect writing skills and one of the best ways I've seen an episode end of any TV show, really, not just of SpongeBob. But beside that, it also has the "How tough are you" memes, where one guy asks the guy who runs the Salty Spittoon, or tells him how tough he is. SpongeBob then comes up and says, "I'm so tough, I have you know, I stubbed my toe this morning and I only cried for 20 minutes, which is a really memorable line. Alright, on to number 8. Number 8 is a personal favorite. Once again, these are all personal favorites. I should stop saying that. Number 8 is an episode I feel doesn't get enough credit in the recognition-wise. It gets recognition, yes, that is completely true, but it doesn't get enough. It only gets recognized for its name. Well, not for its name. It only gets recognized for its song. Number 8 is the camping episode. The camping episode is exactly what it says. The camping episode. Where SpongeBob and Patrick go camping and produce one of the best cartoon songs I've ever heard. The Campfire Song. That is one of my favorite songs from cartoons ever. And it deserves more, to give the episode more recognition. Not only that does it have a good song, but it also has some logic you'll only see in cartoons. Such as drawing circles in the sand will keep sea bears away, which is one of the most memorable parts. Alright, on to number 7. These ones I'm going to start getting a bit more into detail. Number 7 is Snowball Effect. Snowball Effect is a Season 2 episode in which SpongeBob and Patrick are having a snowball fight, and then the classic SpongeBob scenario happens. Squidward gets mad. SpongeBob and Patrick try and make Squidward not mad. And Squidward eventually goes insane and hides himself in a giant snow fort. The end. Best SpongeBob episode ever. 10 out of 10. I'm kidding. It's not the best. It's number 7. So it also has that. And my personal favorite on the Christmas Who CD disc, whatever you want to call it. Christmas Who disc had a lot of memorable episodes, and this one is no exception. Okay, for the top 5, I'll be doing my highlights of the episodes. So, without further ado, let's get into episode numero 6. Numero 6 is SB169, or 129. This episode, while being a personal favorite, it's recognized quite a bit, but it doesn't really have much sense to it. It's kind of an episode where the people at Making SpongeBob, they're like, you know what? I have an idea for an episode. Let's make Squidward go through the time, and then they just eyeballed it from there. That's what I think about the episode, and I think it worked out perfectly. Worked out well enough to create the number 6 spot on this list. So SB169, Squidward tries to get away from SpongeBob and Patrick, trying to convince him to go jellyfishing. He eventually does by locking himself in the freezer for a couple thousand years. After that, the whole plot of the episode starts up. Squidward then gets out of the place and gets unfrozen by a robot SpongeBob, or Spongetron. Spongetron and as many other Spongetrons then annoy Squidward so much he gets on the ground, goes insane, and yells "future" while doing pull-ups. Which, like I said, this episode doesn't really make much sense, and threw out a good plot for humor, which is something you don't see people doing very often. Now, this one doesn't have a moral or anything like some of my episodes on this list. Very few of them have morals. I don't like morals. I like comedy, so sue me. But, whatever. Then Squidward goes back in time and sets up SpongeBob BC by introducing us to before comedy SpongeBob and Patrick, who are some of my favorite comedy characters ever. Anyway, the episode overall gets really good grip on what time travel does in general, and then just throws it everywhere. Throws it out the window for some humor. It's SpongeBob, what'd you expect? But I like it. And it seems like a perfect episode, and it gets in the number 6 spot. Alright, we're going to start talking about highlights. Now, episode number 5. This one is a instant classic, not just for its humor, but for its quote-unquote song. It's Pizza Delivery. Pizza Delivery is just what it sounds. Squidward and SpongeBob go on a quest to deliver a pizza. A Krusty Krab pizza. The highlight of this episode is the Krusty Krab pizza song. That one is a memorable song. It's more memorable than, dare I say, the Campfire song. And more memorable than, dare I say, this might not be true, but I believe it's more memorable than the Band Geek song, Sweet Victory. But we'll get to that later. So, despite this episode being memorable and whatnot, I don't really see it played much more often, though it has humor up the wazoo. One example of this is SpongeBob trying to hitchhike by dancing and yodeling. Don't ask me how that's hitchhiking, but it's hitchhiking. Then we get some more of that cartoon logic that I love from, and that I mentioned in the camping episode, where Moss points towards civilization, and the best part of it, rocks being able to move, which makes no sense to me whatsoever, but it was a funny episode and ended in something you don't really see The one episode where you see this, the main episode where you see SpongeBob and Squidward teaming up. I guess Squidward being a friend to SpongeBob is really what it is. That you don't see very often. The only episode where you really see this is dying for pie. But you see it in this one at the end, where SpongeBob starts to cry after the customer yells at him for not giving him a drink. SpongeBob then cries, and Squidward gets mad and goes up to the customer and says, "You know what? Here's your pizza, sir." He says, "But I can't eat it without a drink." "Well, this one's on the house," and throws it at his face. That is quite a memorable moment, and that, among other things, solidifies this episode as the number 5 spot. Number 4. Number 4 is an interesting episode, dare I say. It's Frankendoodle, or as many people remember it, Doodle Bob. Frankendoodle is the Doodle Bob episode. The episode where Doodle Bob is introduced. A pencil falls into the underwater, and SpongeBob and Patrick find it and create Doodle Bob to try and trick Squidward, who then beats up Squidward and then beats up everyone and goes on a rampage, blah, 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 etc., etc. Classic SpongeBob stuff. The highlight of this episode is when SpongeBob and Patrick are hiding in a hole, and Doodle Bob drops a wrench on Patrick. Patrick then proceeds to say, "Where's the leak, ma'am?" and creates a classic SpongeBob line with classic SpongeBob humor that you don't see very often anymore in these newer SpongeBob episodes. There will be a top 10 worst SpongeBob episodes coming up, possibly. I'm still seeing if I can do it. This is my first, because this one's my first big YouTube project that I've been doing. But whatever. Next up on the list after Frankendoodle, which I don't really know how to explain due to its randomness, really. Well, number 4. Number 4 is... Oh, well, hold up. I forgot to do this. I forgot to lay out some rules for this list. If episode is a special, it is not allowed in any part of the list except for the, honorable mentions spot, which I will get to after I do number 2. That sounded weird. Which I will get to after I get episode number 2 and just before episode number 1. All right, number 4. Oh, no, wait, Frankendoodle was number 4. Number 3, the Idiot Box. The Idiot Box gets on here for its classic SpongeBob line, imagination. Imagination has become a meme and an overall staple in SpongeBob culture. It makes Idiot Box an amazing episode, and it has a good moral. If you use your imagination, anything can happen. This is one of those morals you don't see very often in anything anymore. Or because, well, people just focus on humor now. Morals aren't as big a deal in the SpongeBob episodes as they were in previous seasons. But this one has solidified itself as an amazing episode and has an amazing moral. It also has the highlight of the episode. It's tough to pick, but I believe the highlight of the episode, is the police chase. At this part, not Mr. Krabs, he's not in the episode. Squidward goes outside and hears SpongeBob and Patrick having a police chase inside the box. After hearing this, and among many other things, he tries to mimic SpongeBob and Patrick with his own box, but fails. He eventually decides to go into SpongeBob and Patrick's box with them and realizes they're just actually using their imagination. Also, before I get on, I'd just like to point out, you're going to be surprised by number 2. This one is debatably. This is very debatable. This one. Number 2 is Band Geeks. The reason this is so debatable is Band Geeks is constantly and widely agreed on as the best SpongeBob episode. However, I am putting it at number 2. Why, do you ask? For a good reason. Number 1 has a special place in my heart, and also I have some pretty good reasoning for it. But Band Geeks gets number 2 for its amazing humor. It's nonstop humor. It's memorable moments, such as is mayonnaise an instrument, and among other things. But Band Geeks is an amazing episode. Not only that, but it has an amazing song, which that's the episode. That's the music from the game. One moment, let me shut that off. There's nothing to shut that off. Oh, here we go. All right. Now, I'm gonna play the song that was heard in said SpongeBob episode, Band Geeks. Sweet Victory. It's an amazing song, and just listen to it for a bit. It's the thrill of one more kill, the last one to fall. This episode was about Squidward trying to impress Squilliam as and having a band. It has a sad part where that's gonna be the end for the song right now. But what makes this episode better is, well, it has a sad moment. After everyone's shown how bad they are at musical talent, and Squidward then decides to say, you know what? I'm done. I've tried and tried. You guys have given me more and more reasons to not do this. Thank you all for taking away the one thing that would make me happy. It's a really sad moment, but SpongeBob then proceeds to convince everyone to practice all night. And they come up with Sweet Victory as their ending song. It's an amazing episode, and the highlight has got to be, no question, is mayonnaise an instrument? Is mayonnaise an instrument? No, Patrick, mayonnaise is not an instrument. No, Patrick, horseradish is not an instrument either. It's an amazing episode, but we don't see it nearly enough on Nickelodeon anymore, and I wish we would. All right, honorable mentions. Now, 3 of these are going to be specials. Honorable mention number 5. So, 15th place. Christmas Who. Christmas Who is an amazing episode with amazing songs. With an amazing song. 14th place. 14th place was hard. I had it stuck between Christmas Who. I had to debate. Should Christmas Who get 15th or should Christmas Who get 14th? I gave Christmas Who 15th. And what got 14th? Karate Choppers. Karate Choppers is a good episode and has a moral. Well, too much of a good thing can be bad. SpongeBob and Sandy get addicted to karate, blah, 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 they get in trouble, and eventually it all turns out good. It's a nice episode that really gives you the feels at points, not really. But it's a good episode. Alright, 13th place. 13th place is SpongeBob versus the Big One. This one isn't given enough credit for how much different it is than a SpongeBob episode. It's a half-hour long episode that I find really interesting because it takes on something that we've all been wondering ever since we watched SpongeBob. what happens if there's a natural disaster? What happens if SpongeBob and everyone else in the SpongeBob crew go missing? Well, we don't really see this. We do see the SpongeBob and the rest of the crew go to different islands with SpongeBob, Squidward, and Patrick stuck on one island. It's a good episode, but it doesn't give enough credit for the special is. 12th place, Sandy's Rocket. Sandy's Rocket is a good episode. It's an amazing episode at that, but it's got some good space jokes, it's got the best, by far, SpongeBob episode version of a space episode. It's better than Mooncation, which wasn't that hard because that one was not a season 1 through 3 episode. But whatever. SpongeBob and Patrick go on a rocket ship, think they're on the moon, and think everyone they know is an alien. Woohoo. Number 11. This one is a special, and it is by far my favorite SpongeBob special ever. SpongeBob's Last Stand. It really gives you the feels. Jellyfish Fields is getting threatened to be torn down. SpongeBob and Patrick, through a series of songs and other things, try and save it. Eventually, it gets teared down for Shelly's Superhighway, and the Krusty Krab also goes out of business. It's overall a sad episode at points, but it still gives you some feeling. Gives a lot of feeling, and I find the creative way they wrote it amazing. Their songs are amazing. It's just a memorable episode. And you're going to be surprised by my number one choice, which I'll be getting to right now. My number one choice is Sandcastles in the Sand. This one has a special place in my heart for being my original favorite SpongeBob episode. It also has a special place in my heart for being a SpongeBob episode that was not a season 1 through 4 episode, and it did what no other season 1 through 4 episode could do. It was better than a lot of the season 1 through 3 episodes. It brought back the original writing skills of the season 1 through 3 episodes, and it was just an amazing episode. It had amazing humor and amazing, well, cartoon logic. No other words for it. It's just amazing cartoon logic. But it gets number 1 for those reasons. For being a season 6 through 8 episode that managed to do as good as the originals. The highlight of this episode is the very end, where SpongeBob and Patrick realize the error of their ways and stop fighting. Then, when they start to clean up, they start fighting again about who can clean up the most. That has been my top 10 SpongeBob episodes. I hope you enjoyed it, and be sure to like and subscribe. Watch my episode 4 of Minecraft Single Player, and watch my Death Run on the right, and subscribe on the left, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.